In a controversial move or going to Zimbabwe, where President of Zimbabwe, Emerson Mnangagwa, has faced criticism after appointing his son, David Kudakwashe Mnangagwa, and his nephew, Tongai Mafidi Mnangagwa, as deputy ministers in a newly formed cabinet. This decision comes on the heels of Mnangagwa's recent re-election, which was controversial, by the way. His son, David Kudakwashe Mnangagwa, has been designated as the deputy to finance minister, while his nephew, Tongai, will take on the role of deputy minister of tourism and hospitality. This move by President Mnangagwa has raised concerns about nepotism within the government, as critics argue that the appointment may compromise transparency and fairness in the administration's decision-making processes. So finance, tourism, Rufai.
I mean, who did this to Africa? It is always a suspect, but maybe by extension, I also say, hey, Donald Trump also did it in his cabinet, so it's not only about Africa, but it's very sad where people and leaders feel it's just about those that are close to them and all of that. I mean, there's too many stories. Dennis Sassou Nguesso too had people that are close to him, you know, of blood relations and the likes. We've had over and over and over again people that are doing all sorts of things. And speaking of this Mnangagwa family, there was an Al Jazeera documentary that at a point of it, Pastor Angel Obat did put a call through to the wife of the president, and they were talking about how they can use their private jet to be able to help people transport their money and their cash, which is against the law. So you can see what happens. And the people of Zimbabwe are not even free. In fact, when they fought for independence in Zimbabwe to be able to push Ian Smith off Rhodesia, and they won independence, and they changed Salisbury to Harare and all of that, we thought it was going to be for the betterment. But it has just become the government of whoever is in power. Maybe from the time of Robert Mugabe, that it was his government of him and Grace, Gucci Grace, and now Mnangagwa and his children, while the average Zimbabwean suffers and reels from terrible economy and all of that. So while you have strong oppositions also pushing the likes of Chamisa and co against all of this happening in Zimbabwe, these people keep feeding themselves fat. The Al Jazeera documentary was an indictment on the Zimbabwean leadership and government. And we are sad that this constantly happens. So for those that are defending Mnangagwa, they should see things like this and less introspect. We need to save Africa.
Absolutely. Going back to your first question, who did this to Africa? Hopefully we can build strong institutions and have quality leadership on the continent. Well, let's...
I was going to ask, it would be interesting to see what Dr. Chihombori Kwao will say about this latest development. You recall that she was recently on this program about twice, and she was defending you know, the sitting government in Zimbabwe, you know, our country. And her argument was that the CPC, the Coalition for Change, which is the major opposition party, was being teleguided by some foreign agents. So the CPC now, the Coalition for Change, is now protesting that this kind of thing that Mnangagwa has done is unacceptable. You have made your son deputy finance minister. You have made your nephew deputy tourism minister. There are two other ministers, and that is cabinet of 26, who are husband and wife. Husband is in charge of veteran affairs. The wife is the minister of women affairs. So you just see nepotism, cronyism, you know, as standard practice. And isn't this the case in other parts of Africa? In Guinea Equatorial, the son is you know, ranking member of cabinet. Another son is in charge of the oil corporation. You just find these people putting their family members everywhere. Now, the question, the counter-argument that is raised by people who hold another view is to say, well, if those sons, wives, daughters, nephews are qualified, because some of them may well have the competence, they may be international superstars, but the thing that we have seen across Africa is that this is not on the basis of competence. This is on the basis of blood relations. In fact, it's so bad in Nigeria that, in fact, people hustle to marry daughters of people in government, or, you know, their daughters will try to marry sons so that they can have access to the corridors of power, either formally or informally. And that is why leadership is the major challenge that we face in this continent. We need people who want to serve, people who are public spirited, not people who want to use the position to build their next 5, 6 generations at the expense of the public. And that is why when we say something new always comes out of Africa, our leaders don't listen. In fact, they produce worse patterns, as we wake up daily. In Zimbabwe today, you wait, there will be more examples from other countries.